Knack, knack. Who's there? Yeah, I'd rather not share that with you. Hey, no sweat. Come on in. Make yourself at home and take anything you want. Wait, you wouldn't let a stranger in your house. Why would you let anonymous traffic scrape your website? Introducing IPinfo's Privacy Detection API, a fast and simple way to detect malicious traffic. Activate your free trial today at ipinfo.io, and don't forget to use the promo code CODESTORY at checkout.
The most important thing that I've realized, and it's the hardest thing to overcome if there's a team member not pulling their weight. And so I'm really proud of the team that we've built now, but we've definitely had a lot of missteps along the way. My biggest learning and takeaway over hiring several thousand people now, experience is overrated and hire for culture fit, and everything else kind of falls in line. So are they hungry? Are they willing to learn? And if the answer is yes, like I'll take that individual any day over somebody that is not open to new ideas, not open to change. My name is Nathan Yap, and I'm the founder and CEO of Support Zebra.
This is Code Story, a podcast bringing you interviews with tech visionaries who share in the critical moments of what it takes to change an industry and build and lead a team that has your back. I'm your host, Noah Lampart, and today how Nathan Yap created the service to support your growing company with iconic customer service. All this and more on Code Story. Nathan Yap has a tight-knit family that he spends a lot of time with, so traveling and enjoying good food with his family is winning to him. Outside of that, he enjoys the pickleball craze, and he was heading into his first tournament at the time of this recording. He also loves to ski as well, and mentions really enjoying Crested Butte and Vail. Prior to his current venture, Nathan was importing coconut water from the Philippines. At scale, the company had an office in the Philippines handling the back office work. They eventually sold that company, but during its lifetime, they took on other customers to help with support and found a nice formula for building these teams. This is the creation story of Support Zebra.
Support Zebra does white glove outsourced customer service for fast-growing SaaS and e-commerce companies. And so it didn't always start that way. And so I think we'll get into kind of how it started in our very humble beginnings. But when clients come to us, they come to us because they're lost. They don't know how to manage scaling, like drowning in tech tickets and phone calls. And so we approach everything like a consulting project. In fact, a lot of our onboarding specialists are former Accenture project managers. So we come in, they audit all the existing processes, documentation, KPIs, metrics, all of that. And then we work with the client to partner up and figure out exactly what they want, scope it out, and then literally build a white glove customer service program from scratch, including your playbooks, your metrics, your processes, checklists. We'll put everything in a learning management system. We'll record and create content. Not only that, we will then define what your target avatar for hiring is, hire, and then most importantly, we will manage. So we have a really strong family culture, and so we will manage and ensure performance. And then when teams are not performing, we will coach them up or replace team members to the point where both parties where our clients are happy. So I wish we had we were super purposeful, we're going to get into outsourcing, but we kind of fell into the industry by accident. Prior to starting Support Zebra, we had imported coconut water from the Philippines. My family's from the Philippines, so have a lot of family and friends and a large network in the Philippines. But we used to import coconut water into the U.S. Got it to scale, and we had an office in the Philippines that do a lot of our back office. So like polling retail points of sale, how are we doing? What's our marketing support like? And when we ended up selling that business, throughout that, we just had friends and family say, hey, can you add 5 people here or 10 people here? And so in the early days, anybody that needed outsourcing and that would give us money, we would take them on as a customer. I think we've definitely narrowed down our focus exclusively on SaaS and e-commerce, and we go really deep in those verticals. But early on, we had anybody that would give me money, we would take on as a customer.
let's dive into the MVP, those early days. So when you're taking on customers, right? Maybe it's with, maybe it's a little bit bled into the coconut water. You tell me, but tell me about the MVP of Support Zebra. How long did it take you to build, and what sort of tools did you use to bring it to life?
So it's a little bit different in a SaaS model that our product is our people. I think our MVP is very physical in that sense. So our MVP was literally signing a lease for a 20-seat office. We built out the cubicle. I remember we asked the hospital across the street to tap into their power so that we didn't have to buy or spend money for a big generator because we're mission critical, so we need to have backup internet and power. It included operations manager and then our initial team. So that's essentially our MVP.
So, okay, when you're building an MVP, whether it's SaaS or whether it's something more, towards a team and a support system, you've got to make certain decisions and trade-offs, right? In the short term about how you're going to approach that. I hear the story about the power, but tell me about some other ones you had to work through and how you coped with those decisions.
I think initially we didn't have the budget to compete with the big outsourcing companies that were in our city. So we had to get creative and do a lot of guerrilla marketing in terms of recruiting team members at scale. So initially we brought the initial team in, and then we would hire their friends and their family and then referrals, but it got to the point where we had product market fit and we couldn't scale just within our referral network. And so we made friends with a local DJ who's still a brand ambassador to this day. She shouted us out on his radio station a couple times a week. We canvassed the malls and handing out flyers, went to universities for kind of created our own job fairs for recruiting. We even rented we created our own Zebra mobile that goes around blasting our Support Zebra jingle in highly populated areas and handing out flyers for recruiting. So I think we had to get creative where we didn't have the budget to spend on a large recruiting workforce.
This episode is sponsored by Vanta. You're a startup founder. Finding product market fit is probably your number one priority. But to land bigger customers, you also need security compliance. And obtaining your SOC 2 or ISO 27001 certification can open those big doors. But they take time and energy pulling you away from building and shipping. And that's where Vanta comes in. Vanta is the all-in-one compliance solution helping startups like yours get audit ready and build a strong security foundation quickly and painlessly. How, you ask? Vanta automates the manual security tasks that slow you down, helping you streamline your audit. And the platform connects you with trusted vCISOs to build your program, auditors to get you through audits quickly, and a marketplace for essentials like pen testing. Join over 8,000 companies, including many Y Combinator and Techstars startups who trust Vanta. Simplify compliance and get $1,000 off at vanta.com/codestory. That's VANTA.com/codestory. This episode is sponsored by Kinsta. Between juggling client meetings, managing your website, and keeping up with everyday tasks, who has the time to stress out about website security? Well, with Kinsta, the technical stuff is taken care of, so you can focus on what you do best. Kinsta provides managed hosting for WordPress, offering lightning-fast load times, top-tier security, and unmatched human-only customer support. Whether you're a business owner, web developer, or running a digital agency, Kinsta makes managing your website easy and efficient. Kinsta provides enterprise-grade security, being one of the few hosting providers for WordPress with SOC 2 and other certifications, guaranteeing the highest level of security for your website. Thanks to their unlimited free expert-led migrations, Kinsta ensures a smooth transition for you from other hosting providers. Customers have reported 200% faster load times post-migration to their platform. What I find cool about Kinsta is their fast and reliable customer service and premium features that are included at no extra cost. Ready to experience Kinsta's hosting for yourself? Get your first month free when you sign up at kinsta.com today. That's KINSTA.com. So from that point then, how did you progress and mature Support Zebra? And I'm curious, to wrap that in a box a little bit,
really whether you're SaaS or not, you're building a company roadmap or an execution roadmap. How did you go about that process, and how did you decide, okay, this is the next most important thing for Support Zebra?
Man, we've been through so many iterations between our leadership and company strategy. I mean, we're close to 1,000 people now. I think initially there wasn't a lot of thought into what markets we want to go to and what industries we want to attack. We did see that outsourcing was increasing year over year, and that all of the industry reports were very positive, had very positive outlooks on the growth prospects of outsourcing. And so we were a very general outsourcing provider early on, and we landed a couple clients, Athletic Greens being one of them. They just raised a unicorn round earlier this year that kind of became some marquee clients. And then when we looked at our client roster, we saw a huge concentration in SaaS and e-commerce. And so we decided to really double down and focus exclusively on that. And I think that's really helped us propel into the next kind of level and stage of growth.
So let's switch to team, Nathan. So how do you go about building your team? How did you go about building your team? And what do you look for in those people to indicate that they're the winning horses to join you?
The most important thing that I've realized, and it's the hardest thing to overcome if there's a team member not pulling their weight. And so I'm really proud of the team that we've built now, but we've definitely had a lot of missteps along the way. I think my biggest learning and takeaway over hiring several thousand people now in the 12 or 13 years that we've had Support Zebra is experience is overrated, and hire for culture fit, and everything else kind of falls in line. So are they hungry? Are they willing to learn? And if the answer is yes, like I'll take that individual any day over somebody that is not open to new ideas, not open to change. So that's how I approach kind of team building and team hiring. I mentioned a lot of the missteps on the long way. I think we cycled through a number of operations directors in short order. I think we had like 3 over the last 5 years that really prevented a lot of our growth because I wasn't confident in being able to deliver the solutions and services that we promised to the clients that we were pitching to. On paper, everybody is essentially qualified. Like they've got the right work experience, they've got the work history to lead the company where it needs to be. But I would focus even more so on culture and culture fit than I had, especially early on.
I completely agree with that. If you've got somebody that's got the hunger, like the raw materials to become what you need them to be over, I've got this experience that is sort of applicable, you're going to win 1,000,000 times over with the first one.
Yeah, and do they care? And I don't feel like that can be taught or is an inherited trait. And so, yeah, that's how we approach hiring.
Okay, let's talk about scalability then. It'd be interesting because there's a lot of people right at the center of what you're doing. So how do you approach scalability? And have you approached it scalably from the very beginning, or have you fought this in any way as you've grown?
My role has evolved drastically since when we started. I think when we first started, I was also a team lead, sales lead, main client liaison, would handle HR issues, and wore multiple hats, was kind of the MacGyver for any fires that needed to be put out. So now I think we've got strong key executives in each of the roles, and I approach scale at where are we lacking, and we're to the point now and to the size now that it's not the best use of my time to individually quarterback a project myself. And so when there are new projects or new initiatives, we look at who is best to run point on that project. And if I don't have anybody in-house on the team, then who would be the best person to hire to bring on to lead that project? So that's how I approach scale, and learned that the hard way. Was definitely burnt out. Years 4 to 6, I was definitely burnt out, having burned the midnight candle. We have some accounts that are 24/7 support. So I remember having to wake up in the middle of the night for outages and downtime and other fires that need to be put out, in addition to working like during the day as well. Did not have any semblance of work-life balance, probably for the first 5-6 years. And it's only really been in the last couple of years, last probably 3 years, that we've really leveled up our executive leadership team and our management, where we've got systems, processes, backup plans particularly around natural disasters, where there's flooding or long, heavy rains and monsoons are starting to become a lot more frequent now. And so those BCP, the business continuity plans, are battle tested. When I was finally ready to let go and not micromanage is where we made the most strides in being able to grow both top and bottom line.
So as you step out on the balcony and you look across all that you've built with Support Zebra, what are you most proud of?
I think I'm most proud of the opportunities that we've been able to create for our team members that work for Support Zebra. And it has where we're headquartered and our main location at is where my parents grew up. So it's a location that is near and dear to our hearts, and where we really want to leave a positive impact in the community. That's actually one of our core values. I think that's what I'm most proud of. We're one of the larger employers in the city. I feel like we've created a lot of opportunity that was not otherwise there. We have a lot of community building activities. We sponsor and financially help an orphanage. Internally for the company, we've created a program called the Zeal. So a pack of zebras is called a Zeal. So the Zeal is our internal version of our own internal Make-A-Wish program. So every quarter, anybody that wants to participate writes a short 1 to 2 paragraph request, and we try to grant as many requests as possible. I think last quarter was almost 20-something requests, and ranging anywhere from a team member that their mom had breast cancer and so requested a set of mastectomy bras for her mom, and so we granted that wish. 20 years ago, when him and his wife got married, they didn't have the funds and the budget to pay for a wedding reception, so we did a smaller, I think it's like 30 or 40 people, dinner reception 20 years later. Kind of runs the gamut, but something I think that means a ton to our team members and something that we're really proud of.
Okay, let's flip the script a little bit. Tell me about a mistake you made and how you and your team responded to it.
So first, I think high-level strategy, I think we were not very purposeful in the industries and the types of clients that we wanted to go after. I mentioned early on about taking on anybody that would sign a contract and would give us money. And so I think that lack of focus was very difficult for operations team to get a grip on. So we've got a client in e-commerce, we have a client in logistics, we have a client in wherever, and there's not really any best practice. There's not a lot of best practices aside from tech stack that we can take from one and improve and add value to the other. Now that we've exclusively focused on e-commerce and SaaS, there's a ton of learnings that whether it be tech stack or process or best practices that we were able to bring value across our whole client base, as opposed to it being a lot less valuable if we were in 20 different niches. I mentioned really screening for culture, reference checking. I know that it's easy to look at reference checks and take them for their word, but I remember we hired a manager where everything checked out on paper, everything looked like it was like an A player, and when we looked at the references and everything looked fine, but we didn't really dig into that. And then I think 6 months later, we saw some of the cracks start to open up and looking like it wasn't the right fit. And we had another conversation with it. It was like, and if we had dug in and been a lot more thorough, I'm pretty sure we would have caught things that ended up coming up and bubbling up later. I would rather there be a gap in a role and we wait on I'd rather not hire for a role than be rushed to fill a hire that is not 100% culture fit. Another mistake is the Philippines is a super capable population, like very educated, very loyal, very hungry in wanting to kind of level up their knowledge base and their skill sets. And so whenever we've got issues with clients, and whether that's attrition or whatnot, it's never about capability. It's always about engagement. And so my role is to ensure that the team is engaged and the team is happy and we've got a good work environment. But I remember just thinking there was a time where our attrition was increasing the wrong way and where I did not like it. And we kept throwing more money at the problem, and that was not fixing things. And so there's a point where, kind of like Maslow's hierarchy, that I've learned that where after a certain point, money and salary starts to become diminishing returns, where more money doesn't necessarily move the needle. And so it was a wake-up call for us that we really need to double down on our culture and make sure that we don't keep toxic players, that even though they're performing, we don't keep toxic team members, because that's a ripple effect, that we don't compromise on culture, and that we really need to focus on ensuring that our culture is strong and that our work environment is a fun place to be.
Well, this will be fun to ask, Nathan. So what does the future look like for Support Zebra?
I'm really excited about the future. We've got leaders that we can't announce yet, but that are coming on board, that I think will help get us to that next level. SaaS and e-commerce are going to be, for sure, even with kind of the recessionary headwinds, are going to be it's an ever increasing industry. And so I think there's a huge amount of opportunity for Support Zebra to really capitalize on that. And even now we're seeing in the US that the difficulty in hiring some more junior team members, entry-level folks, it's very difficult to hire here in the US. Those same struggles are being felt in Canada and the UK and Australia. And so I think we've got a huge opportunity right in front of us to capitalize on. And so we have big plans for Support Zebra. So we're at roughly 1,000 headcount now, and the goal for next year is to double that.
Let's switch to you, Nathan. Who influences the way that you work? Name someone you look up to, or many persons, or something you look up to, and why.
Well, I think surrounding myself with like-minded entrepreneurs and business owners and mentors has been instrumental in the growth so far. So I'm very involved in Entrepreneurs Organization, in EO. I think in Houston there's 200 something members, but everybody is broken up into what we call forums. It's 7 to 8 people, all founders and entrepreneurs themselves, all from non-competing industries, so that everybody can share pretty freely. Just learning from all of their experiences, even in kind of completely unrelated industries, has been a huge help for me. I started the company when I was 24, and so I didn't have a lot of peers that I could kind of share battle stories with, or kind of company problems and growing pains with. And so I think EO and my involvement with the forum, who have now become some of my closest friends, was a huge learning point and inflection point for me. So not so much like individuals, but like the group as a whole.
Okay, Nathan, we talked about a mistake earlier, but you talked about a handful of mistakes. This is a little different spin. If you could go back to the beginning, what would you do different? Or where would you consider taking a different approach?
I would pick a very specific niche and go super, super deep in that niche. And I think the problem with outsourcing is that anything can be outsourced. Accounting, finance, video editing, graphic design, customer service. Like, there's so many different facets of outsourcing. And so I would pick one niche and then I would be maniacal about only focusing on that niche, going after those target accounts, and then driving the most value I can to that one specific niche, as opposed to what we did was initially probably 10 different industries that we supported. So I think that would be one of the things that I would do much differently early on.
Well, okay, Nathan, last question. So you're getting on a plane and you're sitting next to a young entrepreneur who's built the next big thing. They're jazzed about it. They can't wait to show it off to the world. Can't wait to show it off to you right there on the plane. What advice do you give that person, having gone down this road a bit?
I think my advice to that entrepreneur would be, once you have the revenues and the profits to support it, spend as much time as possible getting in front of and meeting industry leaders in your space and hiring the absolute best leadership team that you can afford, and then setting the long-term vision and strategy, making sure everybody is aligned on those goals and strategy, and then getting out of the way. I think I was definitely way too in the weeds for early on, I think one of the books that I've recently read over the last couple of years is Who Not How. So not how am I going to do this, but who can help me, who can help the company solve this particular problem, whether it be HR or sales or marketing. In a nutshell, like work on and relentlessly look at hiring the best people and the best leaders you can find. And that never stops. So as the company grows and as the company scales, there's always going to be new opportunities and new roles. And so I think that that's probably the most important value add activity that I spend my time on as founder.
Nathan, thank you for being on the show today, and thank you for telling the creation story of Support Zero.
Thank you for having me.
And this concludes another chapter of Code Story. Code Story is hosted and produced by Noah Labhart. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the podcasting app of your choice. And when you get a chance, leave us a review. Both things help us out tremendously. And thanks again for listening.
Taxes was waiting around for your taxes to be done, which led to worrying about not getting any money back. Now Taxes is matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes in a day to get you up to $4,000 fast with a refund advance loan. Now this is Taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Expert filing only available with TurboTax Live Full Service. Refund advance has $0 loan fees and 0% APR. Refund advance loans may be issued by First Century Bank, N.A. or WebBank. Terms apply. Subject to approval.